Hey, everybody. Welcome to Movie Talk. It's nice to see everybody here. I want to thank everybody for showing up. We have right now in the chat RB Michelle with one L, Sammy Girl. Good to see you. And everyone else who's lurking. I have a very special guest for this episode. The man, the myth, the Frauditor Destroyer himself, Hezekiah Jenkins.
All right. Hello. Oh, thank you. Oh, look, we got Mr. Mimsy, Grovell Bay. All right. Welcome. Good to see you.
Well, Hez, I want to thank you again for agreeing to show up here and join me on Movie Talk. And since I do this with all my guests, I let them pick the genre of movie we talk about. And Hez chose a very interesting genre. He chose vampire films.
Yes, absolutely. No, go ahead.
No, after you, sir.
Well, I was just gonna say for the audience, when we were discussing me being on the show, just this past Tuesday, I went and I saw The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is based very, very, very loosely on the novel Dracula. But I just saw that, and then a few weeks ago I saw Renfield. So there have been recent vampire movies coming out, so that's why it was on my head. I'm like, hey, why don't we talk about vampire movies? All right, that'd be fun.
That's fun with me because I love horror movies. Everybody who knows that about the movie channel and knows me personally, like horror nut. So since you recently saw The Last Voyage of the Demeter and Renfield, let's start with your takes on those. Do you think they were more faithful adaptations of the source material, or they took a lot of liberties?
Well, I mean, Renfield was absolutely just like, it was cool because at the very beginning, they actually took the original footage but put Nicolas Cage's face on there, and I forget the name of the actor who played Renfield. So they do tie it into the original films, but it's obviously it's fun. It's a fun movie, It's not like a serious take on like trying to be a scary horror film. But The Last Voyage, in other words, it had nothing to do with the source material. It was like completely in its own alternate universe, But The Last Voyage of the Demeter, I had a feeling they were going to go pretty far away from the source material because the source material is basically boat leaves Transylvania, arrives in London, the entire crew's dead. That's basically it. So they could have wrote anything that happens on the boat, but there is a little bit. There's a whole chapter of where it's the notes of the captain, and it's like, yesterday someone disappeared, and we're trying to figure out what happened. Stuff like that. But there were so many opportunities in the movie where they could have built on certain things that they didn't. And that made me even madder than, going, because again, obviously they're going to go away from the source material because there's not a lot of meat on that bone. But like, for example, just something as simple as this. And here, I won't even say it. I'll ask you. Based just on the original, like Bela Lugosi, like the Bram Stoker's version of Dracula, what forms can he shapeshift into?
Fog, bat,
yes,
wolf.
Yes. Okay. So there's this whole bit set up early in the film where there's all these animals in there, including like dogs and stuff. So I'm like, oh, they're setting up him for him to turn into a wolf and walk in there. But he never does. They never use, like, they set up this whole thing and then they never use it. It's just like one day the animals are dead. It's like they could have did this whole thing about him turning into a wolf and using that to sneak around and get in amongst the other animals. And they didn't capitalize on that, even though they're the ones who put the animals in there and they weren't in the original book. So it's like they're putting things in the film and then not capitalizing on the things that they put in there.
I know.
Stupid. What were you going to say?
And for me, since I love the novel because you get such a depth of development for the characters in there.
Yes.
Especially with, I felt that would be a great part to cover because, again, you could take some liberties, but you could add to that mythos, but we didn't get it.
Nope. At all. Not at all. What they did was they added characters that were unnecessary, and instead of expounding on what we have, like there was the little kid, which wasn't in the book, and then there was the doctor, who wasn't in the book, and then there's the girl, who wasn't. And those are the three main characters, or people that weren't in the book. The entire crew, they could have been building on the suspense of trying to find out what's going on, what happened, and this and that, and like really get the audience on the edge of their seats. But every time I'm sitting in the theater, and every time something happened that you could tell is supposed to be a moment, everybody's just like, it didn't have any impact at all.
I know there was no real, thing that would shock you to drop your phone.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, though. It's not even just about like a jump scare, like to make you put your phone down. But if you take a movie that's actually interesting, you could have 20 minutes of dialogue and everyone's sitting there like this, as opposed to staring at their phone, Like,
I know.
Nothing to hold anyone's interest. I thought the design of the vampire looked cool, but it was CGI. So CGI, I can't help it. It looks like a cartoon to me. So like all these people are running from a giant cartoon bat. Like, okay, so what?
It's funny you said that description of him, because personally, a channel I follow, their channel name is Dr. Wolfula, and they cover a lot of horror. They described that version of Dracula from The Last Voyage of the Demeanor to akin of like looking like Man-Bat from the Batman animated series.
Yes, he looks like.
I was like, oh my god, you are like. But we had a really good bat representation of Dracula in Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and it was just, Gary Oldman's portrayal in it is just phenomenal. But that version of the bat vampire Dracula hybrid, it was just, that freaks me out.
See, I actually watched a whole documentary about this. There have been all these studies, and I don't know, in the future, as more and more of the future generations are raised on CGI, maybe we'll lose that. But they were saying that there is an innate sense in the human brain that comes from, the survival instinct, like, especially because like the way that, we would live, the way nature would have intended us outside in the woods or whatever, and you at night with animals and things you have to be afraid of, that there's an innate sense in us when we're looking at something that isn't real, which is why somebody with makeup, if it's good makeup, is always going to be more effective than a CGI. That's why Lord of the Rings works, because they combine them both,
And I love the visual effects more than I do CG.
Yeah. Practical effects are what it's all about.
Before we continue, I want to thank everyone who just showed up recently: Christopher O'Connor, Abby Paulin, Underground News, Ravenwing, and everyone else lurking. Since we've been talking about, we were talking about this for vampire movies. Leslie Nielsen did portray in a horror comedy Dracula Dead and Loving It. Yeah. Me and Tones talked about this when he was on here, because we're both big fans. Ravenwing, thank you for being a member for 2 months. I'm going to be a lurker. You can lurk all you want. You're always welcome here, and I'm glad that you're feeling better, Ravenwing. That makes me feel better when I heard that yesterday on Hez's show.
By the way, NCR, who's always lurking around?
Oh, can it be? Is News Now Voodoo here?
Oh, no, I was going to say Count Dracula.
I thought he was here trying to steal your shine, man.
Nah, he wouldn't. He wouldn't dare show his butt around here.
Use that voodoo. This is Hez's time.
Oh, all right. I don't like vampires anyway. All they do is suck. Get it?
You know, I got an emotional support alligator if you want to let him babysit him for a while.
Oh man, he's got to grow up, man. Unclean Hands is shipping baby voodoo back home, so he's gonna have to take care of his own kid instead of letting Unclean Hands take care of him.
But I have some clips from, one particular one that we can definitely enjoy from Dracula Dead and Loving It, and I found it. I'm like, okay, this is funny to me.
Yes.
It's a nice little. As I'm going to get loaded up, is there any particular vampire movies you really enjoyed?
Well, in preparing for the show, knowing that this is what we're talking about, I came up with a top 5 list.
Mm-hmm.
But not necessarily in any particular order. My favorites would be like The Lost Boys, the original Nosferatu, obviously the original Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Fright Night. I love Fright Night. Yeah, absolutely. Those are pretty much like my top 5. I mean, I could keep going, but those are like the big ones. I mean, Fright Night was when that movie first came out. That for me as a youngin, that was like my vampire movie. You know, like I was vampire movies, but I was like, okay, this is something that happened in the past. And then I saw that, I'm like, oh yeah, there's still some meat on those bones. They still could tell good stories about vampires, you know?
Oh yeah, and I loved it.
Yep.
Now let's all enjoy this nice little
yes
horror comedy, Dracula Dead and Loving It. This is Nina coming back, Lucy coming back to hit on Lucy's fiance.
Finally, we can be together.
But Lucy, I'm engaged to Mina.
That doesn't matter.
And you're dead.
I'm not dead. I'm undead.
Well, I'm not unengaged.
Let me show you the deep, raw passion of unbridled sexual frenzy.
But Lucy, I'm British.
What does that have to do with anything, brother? She's coming on to you.
It's not proper British gentleman, actually. Oh man, yeah, that's good stuff.
But you know, I loved Dracula Dead and Loving It because it was the Bram Stoker story just punched up with more comedic effort.
Yes.
But like one of my favorite scenes is, and I can't play it without getting a strike, I found out, is Mel Brooks playing Van Helsing doing the pathology class.
Yes.
Like
when Mel Brooks does horror, I mean, obviously Young Frankenstein is the standard, but yeah, man. Well, anything Mel Brooks does is pretty much amazing, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you and Tones talked about that plenty. That's his favorite.
Oh yeah. We just did a whole episode on like a huge chunk of it was just on Mel Brooks because me and him both love him. But
right.
Cat's Lie. I've only watched the reboot of Fright Night. Oh
no, you can't do that.
You have to watch the original.
Yes.
The original was just so phenomenally scary. Yes, he was.
Yes. He was a great vampire too. R.I.P. Pee Wee Herman.
I actually, when I first watched Buffy, I didn't know that was him. I didn't know. I'm like, that's not him. No.
See, growing up, I don't know if it's because I'm a little older or what, but because when I first saw Pee Wee's Playhouse, I was like, isn't that the dude from all those Cheech and Chong movies? That's the hamburger guy. That's the dude who's like doing cocaine and smoking weed with Cheech and Chong. What the hell's he doing on a kid's show? But like, I didn't realize, like, for most people, they didn't realize that he was an actor until later, you know?
Oh yeah, and his original stage performances of Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Those weren't for kids.
Woo! Those were for adults only. You don't want to bring
Yep.
kids to there.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, he was smart. You got to give him credit, man. Once he realized that he could make that a niche thing after the movie came out, and just stick with that, and you know, just play the role, man, and it made him a superstar.
Oh yeah, and since you've brought it up, Nosferatu,
Yes.
and again, horror classic. I have one of the most terrifying clips in cinema history for us to watch.
Ooh, boy, oh boy, oh boy. I can't wait.
And I want to remind everybody, this was a silent film, so you're not going to hear dialogue. This is an iconic scene, and it just scares the hell out of people. Up. About the pest control.
Yeah. And come on, guys, like thinking about the fact that all special effects were practical effects back in those days, for him to raise out of the coffin like that. Come on. That's awesome.
Now, that movie was based on the original play of Nosferatu, which became the Dracula stage show. And Max Schreck was an extremely method actor, to the point where people thought he was actually drinking blood. That was like the creepiest thing. But he grew his nails out that long for the role. He avoided sunlight to be that pale.
That's crazy. Well, there are some people who think he actually was a vampire.
And
Speaking of which,
we do have that there was a movie based on that theory.
Yep.
Or urban legend called Shadow of the Vampire,
yes.
starring Willem Dafoe. And has actually brought something to my attention that I was not aware of. Ravenwing, thank you for the $2 super chat. And I have to do this just because you did that.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I really do. That helps me out.
All right. Round of applause for Waving Ring, everybody.
But Hez, you were telling me about an upcoming movie.
Yes. For those of you who don't know who Robert Eggers is, in my opinion, he is one of the best young filmmakers in the world today. We got, like, right now, we still got Scorsese, we got Quentin Tarantino, but this guy, he's only made 3 movies so far. His first movie was The Witch. His second movie was The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe. And his third movie was The Northman, which also had Willem Dafoe in it. And now he's doing a remake of Nosferatu. Now, I know there's already been a remake of it. And usually, 90% of the time I hate remakes. I always go back to the original. But this guy is so freaking good that I'm actually very excited to see what he's going to do with this remake. And Willem Dafoe, even though Willem Dafoe isn't playing the vampire, he did in Shadow the Vampire, he's going to be in this new one too, playing a different character that was written just for this picture. So, and they're very, being very secretive about everything. There's not a lot of details, but the guy who's playing the Count Orlok, the vampire, the Nosferatu, is the same actor who played Pennywise in the remakes of It.
Jason Skarsgård, I believe
Yes.
his name. I know his last name is Skarsgård, but
Bill Skarsgård. Yep.
And he was phenomenal in that. But
yeah,
let's show them what Willem Dafoe did as Count Orlok.
Yes.
And if you haven't seen Shadow of the Vampire, I highly recommend. It's a great movie.
Can you pause this real quick?
Yeah.
Right, and I just want to make sure that we lay the foundation. For those of you who are not familiar with this movie, again, there was a rumor in the original Nosferatu from the 1920s that the makeup and the acting and everything was so realistic that there was a rumor that he actually got a vampire to play the part. So the movie Shadow of the Vampire, it's just a movie, but the idea behind it is, well, what if it really was a vampire? Like a real vampire playing the vampire in the movie, and Willem Dafoe plays the vampire.
And, you know, this being a longer clip, we're going to have to pause and talk through it, but the casting in this, John Malkovich, Willem Dafoe, was just phenomenal. And the way they recreated all those sets and shots were just...
Yes, amazing.
Do you think Shrek is all right? We have left him up at that castle.
He's not in danger.
He's a fine actor, but all this preparation, it's very strange.
You think it is strange enough for him to go so deep inside his character that he forgets he's Max Shrek altogether?
Or is he Max Shrek? Is he not Count Orlok?
Peculiarities are like love-making games. You believe them when they happen, but they always stop short of anybody being seriously hurt.
Again, just phenomenal on the set designs.
The woods decay. The woods decay and fall. The vapors sweep their burden to the ground. Dinner. You set a very mean table. No rats. There was a time when I fed from golden chalices. But now, don't look at me that way. In my old age, I feed the way old men pee. Sometimes all at once. Sometimes drop by drop. I told you, I feed erratically. Often, enormously.
Ah, God. Just Max Shrek.
Yes. That's great stuff.
Now, that is a great point. You know, we see Willem Dafoe, he's got fake nails on in that, but Max Shrek grew his nails out for that. They didn't really have the prosthetics like back in 1919.
Right.
And the rumors were that he was drinking blood on set.
Ugh. That's crazy. But you never know. Sometimes, I mean,
they call it Holly Weird for a reason.
yeah. Yep. And there have been a lot of stories over the years of actors getting so deep into characters that it just like crazy.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, somebody was saying, Juggernaut Jared, that how
Yeah.
many actors of method acting have suffered emotional and psychological damage. Um, I know there's a famous story. I don't remember exactly which picture it was, but I remember hearing a story about how Jack Lemmon was in a movie once where he got so deep into the character that the character in the movie, the character had a nervous breakdown, and then when they called cut, he was having a nervous breakdown and he couldn't stop. And they had to like get medics in there and like snap him out of it. And that was like this big, huge emotional thing. And I think honestly, I think that's always been my theory as to why in the 90s, Robert De Niro all of a sudden was doing all these comedy roles. I think because Taxi Driver and Raging Bull and all these kind of roles where he really dug himself into these roles took a toll on him and he had to, take a step back and just, have some fun with it for a
Oh
while.
yeah. And another thing is like Gary Oldman. He is such a method actor. He wants to live in the environment. He wants to pick up the accent. At one point, he had to hire a vocal coach to teach him how to speak back with his British accent.
Wow.
And I was like, wait a minute, he's British? I'm like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Every time I've heard him talk, he sounds American. I'm like, Heath Ledger is another famous story. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
But, I have another clip from Shadow the Vampire, and this is from the ending.
Yes.
And the method acting that Max Schreck portrayed, it really shows in his fear in this scene.
Yes. That's one of the things, like with silent films, a lot of people, obviously, because they're silent and they're black and white, a lot of people can't really get into them. But one of the things that a lot of people, that you have to remember when you're watching anything from the silent era, film acting as just in general, film was such a new thing that all acting philosophies and ideas were all based on stage acting. So there is a little bit of an extra kind of like getting scared isn't like getting it's because you got to do it so that the people in the back can see you.
Oh,
But with the camera, you're 60 feet long on the screen.
Ravenwing, thank you for another $10 super chat. Love your content. Keep up the great work. Ravenwing.
No, I do.
I appreciate that. I do. I appreciate just the comments I get from you guys. That means the most to me. I was saying this earlier in Discord that even if I wasn't monetized, I would still do this because I have so much fun providing content for you guys. It means the world to me.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Ravenwing. NCR, I know this is your channel, but she's been so generous. Do you mind if I throw her a happy dance for you?
Please.
All
Let's
right,
bring
here
you
we
full
go.
screen here.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
But we're not just talking about the silent film era. We're talking about all vampire films. And this particular scene from Nosferatu is, this is from Shadow of the Vampire, but it's the ending, and it's such an iconic scene that you've probably seen it before. But look at Willem Dafoe's portrayal as Max Schreck and the fear you'll see in his eyes. What is it? Garlic. Oh. Just so creepy.
And finally, you must turn to meet the sun. The death of centuries. Moon chaser, blasphemer, monkey, vase of prehistory. Finally to Earth, and finally born. Yes. 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 You take the sun. Alvin, could you quickly collect the wooden stake and return it to its rightful place? It is necessary for the final frame to remind us of the inadequacy of our plans, our contingencies, every missed train, the failed picnics, every lie to a child.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Now, what I didn't show is in the original ending, you just see Count Orloff just fade away.
Right.
But the look of fear, it just creeps me out. And I was talking with my brother about this. I said, if you look at Shadow of the Vampire, it kind of seems like it's a vampire snuff film.
Well, that's exactly it. He's literally filming like, okay, I tricked this guy into playing the part of a vampire in a movie, and he actually is a vampire, but I can't like let him get away with all that. So while we're filming the movie, I'll let him eat a couple people or whatever. But now he's gonna die at the end. He's actually going to die at the end, and I'm gonna film him actually dying when we put him in the sunlight. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Now we've talked about some of the stuff. How do you feel about the portrayal of horror comedy? We talked about Dracula Dead and loving it.
Right. Well, that's a farce, right? And so like there's a whatever it kind of comedy it is, a farce has got its own thing. But the kind of stuff that I like would be like the movie Renfield that just came out. Right? Or like Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, that kind of stuff. That's the kind of horror comedy I like, where it's like the things that happen in the movie are so absolutely horrible, but played for comedy, it becomes like this over-the-top silly violence, and it actually, I don't know, that's the kind of horror comedy I like. Not that I don't like the farcical stuff, but you could make a farce out of any movie, whether it's a horror film or like a Spaceballs, like a science fiction movie, whatever, and just do that, and that's its own genre. But when it comes to horror, I like horror comedies more in the vein of, like I said, like an Evil Dead 2 or Renfield, that kind of stuff. Although done loving it, it's pretty funny. But I mean, Leslie Nielsen, I mean, you can't go wrong, right?
Oh yeah. So you're more akin to the slapstick elements of it.
Yeah, I'll tell you. You want to talk about slapstick? I just got this the other day. It has nothing to do with horror movies, but since you mentioned slapstick, I couldn't believe this when I got it. I saw this on Amazon, and because I just got this the other day. My microphone just went out. So I just got this, and here's the thing that's crazy about it. It is, it was like over 150, almost $200. And I'm like, oh, whatever. I like the Three Stooges, but not that much. But then it was on sale for $30. So I'm like, oh, well, for $30, I'll buy it. So then I got it, and then I saw why it was so expensive. It is literally every single Stooges short ever made. And look at how many discs are in here.
Dang.
That's all Three Stooges. It's literally everything they ever did. But anyway, so yeah, I like slapstick.
Ian asked us a great question. So, what would you consider From Dusk Till Dawn, horror or comedy? I would consider it a horror action movie with comedic elements. Although,
Yeah, that's I got my own Dusk Till Dawn. Yeah. Here's the thing. Okay, so I got this whole because I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino fan. So like I get the whole thing about his relationship with Roger Rodriguez
mm-hmm.
And Robert Rodriguez and how they like work together. So I get that. So seeing, Quentin Tarantino pop up in Dusk Till Dawn, and I understand the idea because Quentin Tarantino does this all the time. In fact, it's his bread and butter. And if you never thought of it this way, if you go back and watch his films, you'll see this is his thing. He'll establish a character who's like the biggest badass dude that you don't mess with that you've ever seen. And then that character messes with a big badass who you don't mess with. And like they FAFO every time, And it's like, and that's kind of what happens here. It's like these guys are big, horrible, crazy gangsters, but then they ain't nothing compared to vampires, like actual real monsters. And so I could kind of see that, genre mixing. What they were, I guess the short version of what I'm trying to say is when I watch that movie, it looks to me more like I can appreciate what they were trying to do more than what they actually did.
I can see that.
I can see what they were going for, but I don't think they quite hit the mark, in my opinion.
I've got this. It's one of my favorite scenes from Dusk Till Dawn, and I loved it. I mean, Selma Hayek was.
Well, I mean,
that enough said about that velvet bikini, but.
Well, no, I was gonna say, like, I mean, you want to talk about, whether the movie was good or not is one thing, but if you want to talk about whether I like sitting staring at Selma Hayek for 45 minutes, however long she was on screen, that's a different story.
But no, I mean, I love the casting they had. You got Tom Savini, you had Harvey Keitel, you got George Clooney, Julia Lewis.
Yeah, everything about it was good. It's just, I don't know. For me personally, I mean, I wouldn't say it was like the worst movie I ever saw, but well, let's hear it. See, there you go, right there. How can you complain about that?
Oh yeah, and especially this shows what they wanted to do and how good it was. Language. The mariachi band. Danny Trejo, love him. I gotta pause it real quick. Something funny about Danny Trejo.
Yes.
Like you see him in all these movies and you think, oh my God, he's a badass. He's this mean dude. Honestly, you know what his nickname on sets are?
What?
Tio Danny. They call him Uncle Danny. He's just the biggest sweetheart.
In real life, he's like the sweetest, nicest dude.
Oh yeah. He's loves his wife. That's why he got the full chest tattoo. I mean, I've never been that in love before to get a full-on tattoo and just demand in every movie, I got to show off my wife's tattoo.
Hey, Abby Pullman saying curse words, man. Twilight. The hell is that?
Oh no, we will discuss that in a minute, Abby.
No, not Twilight.
Yes, because we're going to talk about how bad of a movie that was.
Oh, all right.
Melky, it's good seeing you, brother.
Nice.
I'm not gonna drain you completely. You'll be my slave. Because I don't think you're worthy of human blood. You'll feed on the blood of stray dogs. You'll be my footstool. And at my command,
I'll take that
you
job.
lick the dog from my boot heel.
Not that one.
Since you'll be my dog, your new name will be Spud. Welcome to slavery.
No thanks. I already had a wife.
Makeup effects were just phenomenal.
We might be in trouble.
I would agree.
Yo, Monkey Man. Anything you got to say to them? Say to me first.
Somebody's been playing Mortal Kombat. Maybe one more. And again,
Nice.
that movie was mostly practical effects and shot on such a low budget.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, it's not. You know, I would never say anything bad about the acting or the cinematography or the special effects or any of all that is great. It's just for me personally, the movie was like, you know. I mean, it was fun to watch, but I wouldn't put it in my top 20 best vampire movies of all time list.
Me, I would definitely put it in there. I'm not going to put it in the top 5, but I would definitely put it in at least the top 15.
What did you think of John Carpenter's Vampires?
Oh my god, that movie was again another movie that was just phenomenal. And the only downside was the sequels we got to it.
Ugh.
And you know, since we're talking about bad vampire movies and sequels, Buffy was funny.
Well, no, somebody Ravenwing mentioned it right when you said that.
Oh, yeah. Ravenwing. But you know, me and my brother, we were talking about this because me and him were doing research together for tonight's show. And we were talking about the vampire movie sequels that we got to some of these great films.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you brought up John Carpenter's Vampires.
Yes.
Man, be welcome. We had, you know, James Woods in there.
Mm-hmm.
We had Daniel Baldwin.
Yes.
We had, you know, this phenomenal group of character actors in there. And the plot, the Catholic Church has its own vampire hunting squads.
Yes. That's awesome. That's a great idea. Absolutely. Crossbow with the stakes to shoot him in the heart.
Oh, yeah. Jared, what movie would you like us to bring up?
No, not bring up.
Oh. Well, then we got the sequel, Les Birthdays, starring Bon Jovi, which I don't have a problem with him as an actor.
Only as a musician.
He's a good musician, too. I mean,
no, I don't have a problem with him as an actor, but as far as his music, crap.
That's a little too hair metal for me.
Yeah, right.
Even though I grew up in the 80s.
Right.
But it was just a bad sequel. It ruined everything from the first movie. And then, the Dusk Till Dawn was guilty of the same thing. First movie, good film. The sequels, not so much.
Mm.
And Cat's Lair, they brought up, Dracula 2000. That was the same thing. A phenomenal movie. But the sequels, the 3 sequels that came out afterwards, 2 were supposed to be like direct sequels, starring the guy that played Liu Kang in the first Mortal Kombat movie. But then we got Dracula 3000, where it's Dracula in space.
Hey, if they could put Jason Voorhees in outer space, why not Dracula 2?
Yeah, but it just doesn't seem right. I think, you put a horror villain in space, you've just jumped the shark. Yes, I know Jason Voorhees is an undead zombie man, but why do you gotta go to space?
Right? Isn't he supposed to stay at Grand Crystal Lake? Come on now.
Oh, yeah. But, we brought up the Twilight films, and I don't even consider those vampire movies. What's your take on them, Hez?
Okay, this is up to you. I don't know, because the clips you're showing, you don't want to show anything that could do that you could get a copyright strike on.
Yeah, if we have to talk over them, that's fine.
Well, no, because I got the perfect clip to explain how I feel about Twilight, but I don't know if you'd get a. You wouldn't get a copyright claim over it, but you might get a strike. So you wouldn't be able to monetize this afterwards.
I could try to dispute it if I have to.
All right. Okay, it's up to you if you want to put it on the.
Yeah, let's play it.
All right. Did you hold on? My computer, of course. All right, you got it on there. All right.
Yep.
Here we go. Here's what I think of Twilight.
I promise to love you every moment until the end of all time.
Well, this isn't very good. So, is Bella a zombie? Is always just standing there with her mouth open and she acts like she's dead?
Shh, quiet.
Yeah, sorry.
I will fight for you till your heart stops beating. And then I will still love you. And then I will keep loving you till the end.
They have nailed that so much.
Whispers in these movies. And they're probably embarrassed. What do you think?
Shut up.
Oh, sorry. Hey, Beavis, check this out. I will fight for you until your heart stops beating. Can I have some of your popcorn?
Oh my God!
Damn it. Hey, we want our money back, butthole.
You snuck in.
Oh yeah.
That was funny, and it sums up Twilight perfectly. I mean,
yes.
I was forced to watch those movies by a Karen of no less. And the only way I could power through them was I had to be hammered.
Let me tell you something. Here's the thing about the Twilight series. Even if it wasn't horrible to begin with, even if all of that wasn't true, the fact that finally, after 3 movies, you get the big, awesome, unbelievable, actually, finally, something is happening ending. And that's what would happen if, oh, well, we're not going to do that then, the end.
Wait a
So
minute,
the
what?
thing was just a vision in the main vampire's head. And none of it happened.
Like this awesome werewolf vampire fight that we've been wanting to see.
Yes.
You've been hyping up what's going to happen. It was all
it
just a
does.
dream.
And then you find out it was just, they go with the old school, oh, it was just a dream ending, which is the ultimate cop-out ending of anything ever. So what if it matches the books? Then the books had a cop-out ending.
Vampires should not sparkle in sparkle.
Yeah, man. They broke all the rules.
I get why the author wrote the books. I get it. She was writing something for her daughters, them being Mormon and they can't have certain things. I get it. But those movies, the acting was so stiff by everyone in there. I just couldn't not.
That's interesting because we were talking earlier about the new Robert Eggers film coming out. Mm-hmm. And his second film, The Lighthouse, has the same actor who played Batman, who was in Twilight. And it wasn't until I saw The Lighthouse that I realized that guy actually can act because he didn't do any acting in Twilight. He just stood there like reciting dialogue. Oh. But here, let me ask you about this. Since we're talking about vampire films in general. Mm-hmm. So that made me think of this idea. So would you say, obviously, one of the problems with Twilight is it takes all established vampire canon and just tosses it out the window and she just completely makes up her own canon.
Yes.
But there have been variations over the years. Like, for example, sometimes they can't go out in the sun. Sometimes they can, but it just makes them really weak. Things like that. What would you say if you had like if you were writing a vampire movie, what would you say are, okay, these are the rules. This is what a vampire is, can do, can't do, their weaknesses, their powers, etc.
Well, first, yes, no Kristen Stewart, because that will just ruin any vampire movie. But definitely no sunlight, turns to pile of dust. I would put in, the traditional stake to the heart, takes them out. I would adopt some stuff from the Strigoi types of vampires, like you saw in the Strain. Like they had to be, I don't know if you're familiar with all vampire mythology, but like Strigoi
like versus the Nosferatus versus
like there's different like folklore, but one of the big things I put in is like you had to completely destroy the body. Or something I love from Dracula 2000 was why he was so repelled by silver. Put that in there, like, he can't be around silver and stuff.
Right. Okay.
What about you, Hez?
Well, I do like the mythos for me, and again, for anyone who wasn't here earlier, my favorite vampire movies, one of my all-time favorites is probably the Fright Night, and I kind of like the mythos of that one. It kind of sticks to the sunlight, the stake to the heart. Garlic and holy water have an effect, but not necessarily kill them. And this was one of the things that I hated about Last Voyage of the Demeter, by the way, that I didn't mention earlier, is because it's supposed to be the story of Dracula, and like in in the movie I'm talking about, Fright Night, it's like he shows the crucifix and he's like, oh, it doesn't work if you don't have faith. And then he shows him again. And he's like, oh, wow, it does work. He does have faith. So like, I like that. But in the original Dracula, he can't go anywhere near a crucifix. And in the Last Voyage of the Demeter, they go out of their way to keep showing the rosary over and over and over. And then when the guy finally shows the rosary to Dracula, he just ignores it and kills him anyway. Like it has no power over him at all. I think there should be some in classic vampire lore. There should be some power there, like with the holy water and the crucifix and all that. You know.
You know, it's funny you said that because I have that clip pulled up.
Oh, okay, cool.
And again, this is a real vampire movie, folks. This is what you need to be showing your children.
Yes, this is the real stuff. Yes, yes, yes. I love this movie. In fact, I think I'm going to show it to my kids this Halloween for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely going to go in the October movie nights.
Welcome to Fright Night. For real.
Where's Amy?
Up here. All you have to do is get by me.
Dude, I don't think you got a chance against him.
Spawn of Satan. Oh, really? You have to have faith for this to work on me, Mr. Vincent. Stop!
Oh, shit.
Yep.
Gonna make it?
Oh, no. The familiar.
Yep. That moment, he realized that's a real vampire. Holy shit.
But again, I mean, the difference between, portraying a horror movie host who fought vampires and we got taken down.
What?
Give it a minute.
Oh, it was. I thought it was Beavis and Butthead that was going to kill you, and it turns
Nope,
out
it was
Fright
Just
Night.
give it a few minutes.
Oh no! Yeah, I've been there before. I got that from. Oh wow!
Hold on.
We'll be right back.
Please stand by. This happened to me last week.
This happened to me during a music stream a couple times.
It happened to me last week, like multiple times. I'll just have to cut out this segment of them playing Fright Night.
Right. I wonder, like, if you stick with clips from the trailers.
I was playing trailers, and it just kept giving me claims.
Damn.
They got me like 5 different times.
Wow.
But here's the funny thing: is I played one trailer, but back on the strip, I was like, okay, fine, no issues. But I start playing like, the Blue Beetle trailer. It gets me the claim.
I'm going to see that Tuesday.
I'm dying to see that movie.
Yeah, I already got my tickets. All right.
I might be making a trip 2 towns over for that one.
Yeah, well, I use Fandango.
Nice.
And it's great because the movie theater right down the street here, mine, unfortunately, fortunately for me, mine's close. It's right there. But they have $5 Tuesdays.
Mm-hmm.
And when you use Fandangos, every 5 movies, you get a $5 coupon. So basically, every 6th movie I see is free. Plus, when I went to see Oppenheimer, because the movie's so long, the projector overheated and broke. So they gave us free passes for any movie, anytime. So now I got 2 free movies coming. So I'm gonna go see Blue Beetle, and then after that maybe Turtles. I don't know.
Nice. And we're back on the air.
Yay! All right. Speaking of
YouTube.
monster movies, I'm looking forward to Godzilla -1 coming out in like November, December, I think.
That's what I'm looking for too. I mean, I love the old kaiju movies. They were just so fun.
And it's a real Japanese Godzilla movie, not like these recent, you know. It's a prequel. Like it's even before the first one. Like the first one was 1955, but this is like before that. Like there's still like the bombs go off in World War II. It wakes up the monster and he comes and attacks Tokyo. Like while it's still in rubble from World War II.
And I think that was, one of the scariest things for the Japanese peoples. Like, they just went through, the bombs hitting, and then they have to deal with this atomic monster.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I don't, sorry guys, we're getting a little bit off the vampire track for a second. We're still talking about monsters, but we had a technical difficulty. But anyway, because what a lot of people who like me, I'm a big Godzilla guy, but people who aren't Godzilla fans might not understand is that it's not just a goofy guy in a rubber suit. The whole point was about the atomic war and what happened to Japan and the Japanese. Like it was a very symbolic movie about the effects of war and nuclear atomic energy and all this. It was a statement, It was an important movie at the time.
Oh yeah, and again, this to tie it back to the vampire stuff is that was people trying to understand and deal with the fear of the atomic age that we have created.
Right.
If you look at like the vampire mythos and folklore, it dates back to them trying to understand, the fragility of our bodies.
Yep.
I have this great book. It's called the Vampire Encyclopedia.
Nice.
And it just goes over vampire folklore and stories and movies. One of the best purchases I've ever made.
Oh yeah. Well, I got this, obviously that I put up for today, but like, it wasn't like he was the emperor of Romania and that's where the mythos of the vampire was invented. They said, "Oh, this guy must be a freaking vampire." Like the people already knew what a vampire was, and they associated him with that. Vladimir Dracul.
And that's the thing about Vlad the Impaler, or Vlad Tepes, or Vlad Dracul. It was the mythos that they gave him.
Yep.
And one of the stories is in this book is there's a story of a Hungarian family having a relative who was recently passed come back. And then when they examined the body in the grave, they had saw that, there was blood coming out of the mouth. Like it had just fed on somebody. Not understanding, this is a natural part of decomp.
Right.
So, they treat it as a vampire. So they staked it to the coffin, which was wow.
Yep. Well, that's, I mean, even like, so many of those things, even like, the Frankenstein monster, a doctor doing like an autopsy or looking at a dead body to study the organs and the nerves and everything else is just standard medical practice. But at that time, you hear stories about that and you're like, and it wasn't legal, so they had to steal the bodies and dig them up. They're thinking, what the hell? These guys must be crazy psycho doctors that are trying to do crazy experiments, and they come up with the Frankenstein monster idea.
And, another great thing about vampires, and I love this about vampire films, is you get this fear of, could this actually be happening? Could somebody next to me actually be a vampire?
Well,
Like-
that goes back to the Lost Boys, right?
Yeah.
And then at the end, the old man, you know what I hate about this town? All the damn vampires. It's like you knew the whole time.
Well, yeah, you didn't ask me.
You know. But yeah, that's one of my favorite ways. And again, Fright Night is another good example of it. Is this idea of like they can live among us and we would never know, you know, and like in those situations, you never know who. I don't. It's almost like the Invasion of the Body Snatchers or The Thing, you know, like you never really know who's the monster and who's not. It could be him, you know. Anybody who works nights, you know, could be a vampire.
And then the morality stories you can get out of a vampire movie.
Oh yeah.
Like one of my favorite, it's an underrated vampire movie. It's called Bitten. It stars Jason Mewes. And he plays a paramedic who happens to come across a girl who he meets outside of a bar. He thinks she's just a junkie. And he's trying, you know, to get her cleaned up. Turns out she's a vampire.
Yep.
And he falls in love with her. And then he's like, you know, helping her get victims. And he's like, you know, she's talking about, you know, taking out like kids in the apartment complex. So it's like, how far do you go for love?
Right. Oh. And then I mean in most vampire stories, that's where it gets to the point where, unlike Bela Lugosi, who hypnotizes women into letting him bite them, choosing to let him bite you because you want to live with him forever, you know?
Oh yeah. And another good vampire movie that I have to recommend is Near Dark. Because that brings go on.
I'm sorry, we were talking about stupid comedy vampire movies. What was that one with Jim Carrey?
Once Bitten.
Oh yeah. Because you said Bitten. That's probably what made me think of it. Yeah.
Yeah, Once Bitten is like one of the funniest. Like my favorite scene is the ending. And I'll set this up for everybody. Once Bitten is about, it stars Jim Carrey. He played an ice cream man still like in high school. And he is the target of a vampiress or a female vampire who wants him because he happens to be a virgin. And well, the only way that she can't have him is if he's no longer one. So Tiffany Amber Thiessen of Saved by the Bell fame,
Yes,
performs a passionate hug inside of the vampiress's hideout, which happens to be a funeral home inside of a coffin. The vampires and her goons show up and they're like, "You're too late." She's like, "You couldn't have." Not in a minute. Jim Carrey pops up smoking a cigarette.
Yep.
She's like, "You could have, but you didn't enjoy it."
It's great. Juggernaut wants to know what the perfect vampire movie is. Like I said, my favorite is crap, I just said it, for crying out loud. You know what? I keep thinking of the Lost Boys, but it was Fright Night. Because they came out right about the same time, at least, you know, when you're my age. But as far as perfect, the only perfect movies ever made are Back to the Future, Empire Strikes Back, The Godfather, and Citizen Kane. So other than that, there are no perfect movies. Maybe Psycho, Shining, I guess. But yeah, my favorite vampire movie. What about yours, NCR?
It's a tie between two, to be honest.
Okay.
The first one I would have to say would be Dracula 2000.
Okay.
And the second would be the Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola, because both of them have such great elements,
Mm-hmm.
but there's that, like, it's hard to pick between them.
Yeah, yeah. It's
And
taking that whole, like, that actual gothic horror kind of idea, but putting it in a modern, filmmaking style. I don't know. Yeah, it is really cool. I like that stuff.
now
Those are good movies, man.
here is a scene from Once Bitten, which it's just one of those things that it's funny.
Time's it.
This is him becoming a vampire. Oh no.
Are you feeling better?
Making everyone wear all black as a vampire.
Fine. A little bright in here, isn't it?
You don't eat right, you know that? I'm making you feel
Oh,
like
Interview with a
egg
Vampire.
burger.
That is a great movie.
What happened to your shirt, Mark?
Shirt?
The one you wore last night. All the buttons are gone. That's the second time. How'd you manage that?
This jogging crap is for the birds. Yeah, it's really bad for your knees and your back, Dad. Huh? Should have told me that 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Like an egg burger, dear?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Mark? I'd like to have a little talk with you. Oh, what time? I gotta go.
Aren't you going to finish your juice?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
See you tonight. Well, he couldn't be anemic.
Oh.
He's drinking blood. Well, he doesn't. He's not anemic. That's
Oh.
great.
I had a cousin who used to babysit me when I was younger, and she would always make us watch that movie. So it's like, it's burned into my brain.
I like the fact that, like, Bela Lugosi's
Oh, we struck again.
What happened?
We got struck again.
Ah, crap.
Damn it, man. Oh. They do this every time. We're having fun.
Right. Heck, damn it.
They do this every time. It's like YouTube cannot have a fucking chill down minute. Yes, really, Ravenwing. They are doing it again to us. It's like YouTube's just like, we get you guys to have fun as content creators, but don't have too much fun for your fans.
How do people that do? I see live streams of people reacting to movies and music and all this stuff all the time. How come they're not getting shut down every 30 seconds?
I know. And, we're talking over the stuff.
You know what I think might have something to do with it? I mean, I don't know, but I have noticed that a lot of the people who do that do the stuff that they show, the clips they show in their reactions based on donations they already have.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's not that they don't get shut down. It's that they don't care if they get demonetized, if they're getting $100 in super chats, to talk about a certain clip, then okay, I get shut down. So what? I already got my $100. I don't know. That's just, I don't know, because I still don't see them getting shut down all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of like, all right.
So now what was I going to say? Because we got cut off.
You're talking about Bela Lugosi.
Oh, yes. This is how, like, it's subtle, but it's true. This is how intense and how much of a huge piece of the cultural zeitgeist Bela Lugosi's portrayal of Dracula was. How do you know that Jim Carrey's turning into a vampire? What's the first thing he does? He slicks his hair back, like Bela Lugosi wore his hair.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you know he's a vampire, because his hair's slicked.
He's wearing the all black.
Yes, but it's like that's how intense that Bela Lugosi thing was. Even now with the blah 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 or whatever, like it's just that's iconic, man. That's it.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing is all these key Ravenwing. Thank you for $2 super chat. Yes, YouTube, stop it. I am trying to provide these fine people entertainment, and you're ruining it.
Heck, damn it. Stupid
But-
YouTube.
But we were talking about this earlier, and like you just brought up, Lugosi did the hair comb back.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Hammer films, the Hammer horror films,
Mm-hmm.
you saw Dracula with that the red lined cape, which now you see every vampire movie where he's wearing a cape.
Right.
He's got the red background cape, and it just becomes a natural thing.
Yep. It's it is interesting. There's always little bits and pieces of the mythos and the that are added to the canon over time. That's like the things that happened in the original movie, but then like, oh well, this movie was a big hit and this happened in it, and it's a again, unlike Twilight, which just throws all that out the window and makes up their own new rules from scratch.
Oh, yeah.
Like taking inspiration from different bits and pieces of the mythos and building something new with it. I like that.
I like when they add stuff to it. Like when, like I said, with Dracula 2000, they added that nod that Judas Iscariot was a vampire. He was Dracula because he turned his back on Christ.
Right.
And that's why he was allergic to the silver.
Yes.
Or, if you watch Bram Stoker's Dracula, at the very beginning, he finds out his wife has died. She's committed suicide because of the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So what does he do? He destroys that cross and he drinks the blood from the cross. So now he's repelled from the cross. That explains it.
Right. Yeah, it's having some sort of bits and pieces that are added to it to explain why certain things are the way they are, right? Because in the original Dracula, they never show, how in the movie, the Bela movie, they never show how or why he's Dracula. He just is. Jonathan Harker, well, in the movie, Renfield shows up, and that's it. He's already there and already established. He's a count. He's buying a house. He's buying the Carfax Abbey, and that's it. Makes a deal and goes about his business. But yeah, no backstory really in the original film. So there is a lot of room for people to come up with things. And I also like the idea, I don't remember where this came from, but the idea of it being almost like a virus. That's why getting bit gets it in your blood and then you get that virus too. Almost like the zombie virus, but it's a vampire virus,
Yeah, they explored that in Blade, in the very
Oh,
first
that's
Blade.
where, yep.
And that's very interesting. She's like, well, she's asking, well, why do vampires need to drink blood? And they have the signs like, well, they can't handle the hemoglobin. They need it.
Right.
So she's like, well, what if I could find a cure? And she finds that cure.
Yep.
But, here is something interesting, as you might not be aware. Blade is not the first comic book vampire slayer.
Ooh. Well, it wasn't Abraham Lincoln, was it?
No. I wish. That would make his presidency even more awesome, in my opinion. But no, the very first comic book style vampire hunter came from Britain's Hammer horror films, Captain Kronos.
Oh, okay.
They were trying to, it was one of the very last films that Hammer Horror put out, and it stars, the character Captain Kronos and Caroline Monroe. If you don't know who she is, type in Warrior of Love on YouTube, and enough said. But he played the exact same character as Blade, for the exception of he wasn't a vampire; he was human.
Ah.
He had an assistant named Hieronymus Gross, who's an intelligent, sophisticated hunchback. And they went through all this different vampire mythos and legends, like, if a vampire walks across a freshly buried dead toad, the vampire will give the toad life. So that's how they're dealing with. Okay, now we're dealing with a vampire, and the vampires weren't sucking blood; they were stealing people's youth. And it was like, what is it? He had to make a cross into a sword and did the exact same sword fight that they did in Blade.
Wow.
It was, like, if you can track it down, it's a good movie to watch.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's so much, like, those early comic book writers were borrowing so many ideas from pre-existing, things that movies and TV shows or whatever they saw, other books they've read and things, so I wouldn't put it past them to have been whoever wrote the original Blade, having seen that. You never know. But Juggernaut's bringing up trauma films. Come on now.
Oh,
We're talking about movies.
Don't get me wrong. I love trauma movies. It's a guilty pleasure because I love bad movies, and
Yeah.
trauma makes horrible movies like Redneck Zombies.
Yeah, but you know what I love about trauma is they know, and that's what makes them so good. Like, it's not like they're just so bad at making movies. It's like, no. They're like, okay, let's make this movie. Well, it's gonna be bad, yeah, but I mean, what can we put in there that'll really make it bad? Like, what's the worst thing we could possibly think of? Let's do that. It's like they're intending to make it crap.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
it's schlock,
but
intentional schlock. I love it.
The beauty about trauma is they are the last true independent film studio.
Yep.
All the movies they put out are just self-funded. They're self-written. There's hardly any. If you could ever get a big actor, you're lucky. Like, I love the new Return of Nukem High because it stars Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead as President Lemmy.
Yes.
Jared, that's a story you're going to need to share with me in Discord.
Seriously, that's awesome. But yeah, that's good stuff. Good stuff.
Now,
yeah, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, absolutely, in the Hammer film days, and then that they both ended up in Star Wars.
Oh yeah, and here's the crazy thing is, Cushing and Christopher Lee, they were in so many films together that they have this great friendship. Mm-hmm. Well, they had a great friendship. I hate to say that late because
yeah.
But here's a little fun anecdote. On the set of
Raven Wing.
Oh,
gifted memberships.
Oh, really? I didn't even see that. Raven Wing, thank you for the gifted membership. And Mr. Mixes Beagley L. Bay, congratulations and thank you for, I hope you continue to stay a member of the channel. But Peter Cushing on the set of The Curse of Frankenstein.
Yes.
He had more lines than Christopher Lee. He's like, I have no faith in this horrible movie. He says, have you read the script? It's like, yes, I have no lines. He says, you're lucky. I have to read a lot. and they became such good friends that on set they would recite Looney Tunes bits to each other.
Nice. That's awesome.
Oh,
yeah, I like hearing stories about people actually having fun making movies, Oh yeah, we had a blast on the set, That's always good times.
Like Christopher Walken, he has this prank he likes to pull on movie sets. And he'll be in the middle of shooting a movie, and when they cut, he'll be at the craft service station, and he'll look all sad. And somebody would ask him what's wrong. He's like, it's my birthday, and I just want to be with my family. So somebody will tell the directors or the producers. So they will go out and get a birthday cake and get him a gift. And it's usually just like a $100, $200 watch.
Right.
And he's like, I've gotten so many freaking watches. I just give them out to my kids.
That's awesome.
But we've been going for an hour and a half, and if anybody would like to come up and ask me and has a question about, vampire movies or some movies we like, or our ideas or thoughts on certain movies, you're more than welcome. I'll be posting the link to join us. I do ask, everybody just one at a time. I'll bring you up, and if you can drop afterwards, we answer your question. That would just speed everything along. Normally, I have
We'll drop you.
No, we won't drop you, but I just want everyone to have an opportunity to share with us their thoughts or get our opinions. Ravenwing, you know what? Since you've done so much, you can type out your question and I will highlight it and I will bring it up. Because you are just a super fan of all of ours, and, well, we love you, kid.
Is very active on my channel, too. Love Ravenwing. Round of applause for all you guys. Round of applause for Ravenwing. And round of applause for NCR News Network, our host.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, Luca's here. Hey, CA.
What's up? Good to see you. All right.
Now, I'll pin the comment here. So if anybody wants to come up, you can join us and ask questions. But, I got a question for Hez while we wait for somebody to join us. What is your take on just bad sequels for vampire movies? Do you think they hurt them or prevent them from getting news?
I think that's so standard. I mean, again, that's something that you have to look at the overall picture. I mean, this is why movies like Empire Strikes Back, Godfather 2, Rocky 2 are such a big deal, because sequels in general are garbage. That's pretty standard. Whether it's a vampire movie or any movie, sequels are almost always crap. I mean, what did they follow up Dracula with? Son of Dracula, or Dracula's daughter, and then Son of Dracula? It's like it just immediately started getting ridiculous, even back then, But yeah, I think it depends on the sequel, but for the most part, usually the best vampire movies, the vampire dies at the end. So when they bring him back, again, there have been times where they've made it work. Like when he had whenever you kill him with a wooden stake, you just pull the stake out of the skeleton and but and again, that was established in, I think, House of Frankenstein, I think it was, or one of those original, monster mashups where they had Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman in the same picture. And the only common thread was always Lon Chaney Jr. back in those years. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, sequels tend to be crap, regardless if they're vampire movies or not.
That is true. And for me personally, I think a bad sequel to a vampire movie hurts the chances of us getting any other really good vampire movies.
Yeah.
Because, we covered, the vampire, John Carpenter's vampire sequel, Los Muertes, but then we got, the 3 Dusk Till Dawn movies.
Yeah.
The first one was good. The second 2 just they felt forced upon us.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you what you think about this, because this isn't just, with vampires specifically, but horror movies in general. But of course, this applies to vampires or any horror movie. This is my philosophy. For me personally, this is what I like. Okay, my philosophy on horror movies is this: the killing, the murder. There's always some kind of killing or murder. That's the horror part, right? But the killings, the murders, whatever it is, whether it's a monster or a psycho killer or a spiritual entity, whatever it is that's causing the horror, the deaths, when you get into gore and stuff, that's fine. It's I don't have a problem with that. But ultimately, my favorite horror movies are ones where the killing, the death, whatever's causing it, the death is not the thing that causes the horror. The death is there. In my favorite horror movies, the death, the murders, whatever, are there to establish this person or this entity or this thing, whatever it is dangerous. So now that we, the audience, know you can't reason with this thing, if it touches you, you're going to die. Now we get with the main characters, and when we see the whatever it is coming at them, now we're like, uh-oh, we know if this thing catches them, they're going to die. So the death isn't there for its own sake. It's there to establish, like, this is a dangerous thing, so that when it starts coming after the main characters, we, the audience, are like, whoa, if that thing gets you, you're going to die. You better look out. You know what I mean? And that's my favorite kind of horror, where it builds on that fear and that suspense.
Don't worry, Kim. We'll have it. I keep all these up, so if you miss them, you can watch them at your leisure. That's why. But if you want to come up and ask us a question or type out a question, we'll answer them. But for me, it's the reason why I like horror, and this comes from Sean Cunningham. It's a great way to experience untimely death and deal with some acceptance.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
It's like he says, it's like going up on a roller coaster. You go up in anticipation, and then you get that scare. But at the end of the ride, you get off it and you're like, I'm okay.
Yes, that's exactly okay. Yeah, now you're talking about like the psychology behind why we enjoy watching horror movies. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I was thinking more in terms of like story structure.
Oh, yeah.
The way that they build the films. I like the ones where the murders aren't just there for the sake of, oh, look at him ripping the guy's face, which has its place and could be very fun. That's why I love Renfield, right? He literally rips the guy's face off, and I loved it. But, I was thinking more in terms of like the perfect example is the original Halloween by John Carpenter, right? Like when Michael Myers kills people, it isn't the fact that he's killing people that makes it what it is. It's that, okay, now if he gets you, you're going to die. Now he's chasing Laurie. Now it really starts getting, okay, if he catches her, she's dead. Oh, what's going to happen? And you get on the edge of your seat,
Yeah. And Jared, you posed a great question for us. Who would we cast as a vampire or vampiress in a movie? Ooh. Well, seeing that I've already had Selma Hayek as a vampire, and I could watch her as a vampire all day, but that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I
mean, because if you think about it, like, because somebody, like, we didn't really talk about, but someone mentioned earlier, interview with the vampire. So, like, yeah, we've had Tom Cruise as a vampire. We've had Brad Pitt as a vampire.
Kirsten Dunst as a vampiress.
Yeah.
Antonio Banderas was a vampire in there, and he was good.
Actually, a lot of actors have played vampires over the years. Obviously, Willem Dafoe, we were talking about earlier.
You know what? This is a little bit of a controversial one.
Yeah.
But I can totally see him doing it. I would love to see Tobey Maguire play a vampire.
Yeah, I could see that. That would definitely be cool.
Even if it was like a horror comedy, or even if you wanted to go with the whole, horror, just straight horror, I can see him doing it. We have a very special guest. Guys, say hello and give your a round of applause to Ravenwing.
All right.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. So, Ravenwing, would you like to ask me and has a question?
That sounds like Good News Network. Oh no!
So, I don't even get one day off. You're gonna mess with me even on Sunday, Raven?
I see you.
Oh, no.
I see you, News Now Newark.
News Now Newark? Newark, New Jersey? Ah, crap, I ain't going gym and tanning, the beach, and all that nonsense. You know what the situation is? My butt, that's the situation.
You better be careful. You're going to get tased.
Ah, crap. No. Save it for Monday, man.
Okay, we'll save a double tasing on Monday for you.
Yes.
Who's now vampire?
I love that, Jared.
Vampire news now.
Fright Night's amazing.
Yes, Fright Night is amazing. I love that movie.
I would love to see a vampire frauditor. That would just be so funny.
Oh, dude, you just gave me an idea for a video. Like a vampire frauditor. So it can only go out at night. But all the buildings they want audited are closed. Because it's night and it's after hours. This one is closed again.
My name is Vlad. I am from News Now, Transylvania. And I'm here to send my petition to the city council to be opened at night.
I'm going to file a complaint to that officer for not letting me bite his neck.
Blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah, we already have that. We've got Creepy David.
Yes.
The vampire things.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh.
So, Raven, how you doing? I see you on my show every morning, but this is the first time I've ever actually spoken to you. How you doing?
I love you so much. I'm so glad I could actually talk to you.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate it. And how about NCR? This guy is fantastic, too.
NCR, you are the amazing.
Oh, thank you. You're making me blush.
I am so glad that I get to be on with both of you. It's actually the work of my husband fixing it for me. So
nice.
Nice. But, Ravenwing, you're one of those people in the community that come out to our shows and our videos and the comments and the super chats, the gifted memberships. It means the world to us. And, speaking for me personally, I love every last one of my viewers because you guys make me want to put out more and more and more and push myself to bring you guys.
I am so glad. I am so glad, NCR, because you do such good work.
I try.
Maddie B got it. Maddie B figured it out.
Hezekiah, you do good work too.
Oh, Hez is. I've said this. Hez has the best morning show.
Hez has the
morning
best
show.
morning show, and I have won twice off there, and I can't even believe what I've won.
Awesome.
I mean,
I try my best.
Hezekiah, I said this before. The best part of waking up is Hezekiah's show on your screen, and I get up early. I jump on to check all my stuff. First thing I do is put on Hezekiah's morning show.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Dang it, all right.
I know Mark pretty good too.
And I'll say this, as a content creator, you guys make us want to keep going and putting out stuff because people like you, Ravenwing, Maddie B,
You
Jared.
have no idea how much of a family I have between you all.
Yes. I love that.
And I consider all of you guys, very close personal friends and family, because doing YouTube has been a lifesaver for me. I've made good friends and can, and have great conversations with people. And then I get, compliments from you guys saying how much you guys love my work and how can I improve it. That means the world to me. And when we heard you were sick, that made me upset a little bit because we care about you guys. Because when we see you come in, especially with Hez's show, you guys we come in every morning and
Personally, I've been in and out of hospital the last couple of months, but I've been able to stay out of the hospital for at least a month, and I feel
Excellent.
better, and I feel more like myself now. So
Excellent. Excellent. Here's the thing, and I always say this, I've said this many times before. That's the whole thing. It's social media, right? It really does feel like a social gathering, especially when you do it regularly and you start seeing the same people every day, every day, every day. You know, you start building these sort of relationships and stuff. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't understand because, like, especially like with my channel, I get a lot of people emailing me all the time about, well, your mods time this guy out or your mods time that guy out. But it's like, because we're such like a tight knit group at this point that when not like outside of the bubble, but with people that are from the other side of the fence come in there just to talk crap and give people a hard time, they like sitting down and having their morning coffee with their friends that they have their morning coffee with every day. And they don't want to look at some one of the people that we're making fun of come in there and be like, hey, let me knock your coffee over and, you know, just throw your breakfast on the floor. How you doing, buddy? Like, get the hell out of here, you know?
The best way to sum it up is like it's like being at that old diner in your town, and you're right before you go to work. Yeah, all your friends there, all your coworkers there. You guys are just trying to enjoy before you have to go into work.
Exactly.
And then some punk kid comes in and wants to mess up everything.
Yeah. So sometimes when they get timed out, it's like when when Clark Kent goes back and beats up those guys in the diner that beat him up when he lost his powers in Superman 2. Smack him around a little bit and throw him out. Spin his chair super fast.
Yeah, you know what? Let's get. This is a reference for my brother, but he'll get it.
Kick him out.
It's like the mods are like Dalton from Roadhouse.
Yes.
3 rules. Never underestimate your opponent. Don't fight inside, and be nice.
Well, I got 4 rules for the people that my mods time out. These are my 4 rules. And if you break any of these 4 rules, that's when you get timed out. If you come in and you're a pro frauditor, shut the hell up. Those are your 4 rules. Don't follow those.
Now, I don't mind them coming in on like if we're doing like a breakdown and they want to point out something like factual or maybe a law that could be interpreted. That's fine because that just adds to the conversation.
Oh yeah. Well, honestly, I have fun with them sometimes. Like I used to
I really appreciate you guys bringing me up. I really do.
We're sitting here having a conversation with Norm Ravenring
like this, so I appreciate you bringing me up and let me have a moment for you guys second.
Hey, we appreciate having you up here. This is great.
We appreciate all of you guys, especially you, Raven. You're out there, in everybody's live streams, and you're encouraging us more as content creators to put out more work and I hate to quote DMA, but do better for you. I know, I feel dirty for saying it.
It's fun to laugh at that clown.
Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe is woo.
Yes, that movie's crazy, right?
Willem Dafoe is just such a phenomenal actor. I loved him in Boondock Saints.
Did you see NCR? Did you see The Lighthouse?
I have not.
All right, Raven.
I've
what
seen
about
the memes.
Willem Dafoe's monologue in that picture? When he goes off about the whiskey or whatever, you know what I'm talking about? Well, all righty then. Did we lose her?
I think we might have.
Well, remember, she said she had a microphone problem.
Mm-hmm. But no, I loved Willem Dafoe in Boondock Saints.
Yes.
He phenomenal. Just and we brought this up about character actors. I have a question for you guys. Who would you say is the best character actor you've seen so far in a movie?
Ooh, that's a tough one because there are some good ones. Willem Dafoe's one of them. Oh, Raven, you're back. What happened? Did you lose your sound or what?
I am a William Defoe fan, so whatever he's done, I'm all about.
Yes, yes, and that's the thing. We were talking about how he played Count Orlok in Shadow of the Vampire, and now the guy who directed Lighthouse, Robert Eggers, is doing a remake of Nosferatu, and he's going to have him in it as well. But he's not going to play Orlok again. He's going to play a different character.
Lighthouse is one of the best movies he's done ever did, in my opinion.
I'm gonna have to watch it now. I'm gonna have to track it down.
Well, here, since you already got shut down twice, you might as well. Here's his monologue from it if you want to show that.
Oh yeah. I think if we just
I like your cooking.
Gee, like
now, do you see? Now, watching that clip, do you see why I'm excited that that's the same director who's doing the remake of Nosferatu?
Yes, I'm gonna be honest with you. I felt like the pressure was pushing onto my chest. Like he was looming over me personally, just like
yes.
That is a sign of a good movie when you cannot just not the visual or the auditory senses, but when your whole body feels it. Like
that whole thing, because like at the beginning, he's like, "Oh, if I had a steak, I'd have sex with." It's like, and you're like, "What the hell?" The whole premise is they're in this lighthouse. They're lighthouse keepers, but a storm comes and makes it so they can't be picked up at the end of their shift. So now they're stuck on this island. So like, there's no other people that they come into contact with except for each other for months and months and months on end.
Man, that is that just I felt it. Like I felt like somebody was just pushing me back into my chair. Yep. And when you see a performance like that, you just have to appreciate it.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe's amazing.
I personally say that's one of the best character actors I've seen in a movie. Brad Dourif.
Yes, he's another good one.
I love him in Death Machine.
Yes. Who else do you like, Raven Wing? Well, I guess we got mic problems again. All right. I keep feeling like we got her up here, but I don't want to ignore her. But then she's, I don't know. Oh, well.
Well, let's ask a question to the audience. If you could have dinner with any celebrity, who would you have dinner with? Like personally, Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, because everyone says that he's like you could actually talk to him like he's a regular dude. Or on the opposite end, Morgan Freeman, because he seems like he has that deeper level of wisdom that you could actually get into a real conversation with the guy, learn something about life.
Kim Carter says The Rock.
Yes. Learn how to take a bump.
Me personally, I would have to say Christopher Lee. If I could have dinner with Christopher Lee, I would just love to hear his stories.
Oh, yeah. Susan Sarandon and Woody Harrelson have the best week.
Crawford again, Mel Gibson. That'd be an interesting dinner.
Yeah, that would definitely be for some interesting conversation.
All right, Jared, I'll clarify the question. If you could have dinner with any actor ever.
Oh, alive or dead?
Alive or dead.
Oh.
Hence why I went with Christopher Lee.
Ah.
You guys hear me?
We
Yes,
can
we can
now,
hear you.
yeah.
Okay, sorry.
All right, welcome back.
What? I'm sorry. What was your question?
If you could
Some of your
have,
favorite actors, if you could have dinner, right? Go ahead.
you could have dinner with any actor, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh gosh, that's a good question.
That's
I
Charlie
would
a
have to
Chaplin,
go with
Vincent Price. That's another good one.
yeah. Vincent Price is actually a really good one because I love Vincent Price.
yeah.
But I would have to go with
Raven, I think you might be muted again.
Yeah, I think you can hear like there's a noise when her microphone turns off. There it is.
actually Vincent Cage might be a good Vincent Price might be a good choice because I love his voice in Thriller. So that might actually be a really good answer.
You know, I have something for you, Ravenwing, a movie that I'm going to try to find for you to watch because you love Vincent Price. How would you like to see him in a wacky comedy? I have heard of a movie called Dr. Goldfinger and His Bikini Machine. It stars Vincent Price. It's an old, like, it's supposed to be like a beach movie kind of a feel where Vincent Price plays a evil genius who builds a golden bikini machine that makes go-go style dancers robots to go and
I have not seen that.
I will find it and I will put the link for it in my
I have not seen that at all.
here's the funny thing is he plays it over the top. He has an assistant named Igor in there. And he says this line over and over to him. He goes, Igor, yes, doctor? Shut up. Just like that. It's shut up. Like he extends it like he's from Brooklyn.
That's awesome. It ain't no Pit in the Pendulum, that's for sure.
I'm gonna have to find that movie for everybody. I'll do it for the movie nights even.
Did you guys ever see the original Nightmare Before Christmas was a poem that Tim Burton wrote, but Vincent Price read it.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, they have a let me see if I find I know it's on here. They have like it's a cartoon. Let's see.
Another person I would love to have dinner with would be Gary Oldman.
Yes. That's another good choice.
I loved him in The Professional.
Yes. Good stuff. Are you guys waiting for me?
Yeah. I was waiting for you to find that clip. If you can't find it, it's cool.
I think I got it. Hold on. Yep. Here it is. All right.
Let me pull it up.
Well, I gotta get it on the share my screen. Hold on. Here we go.
Tim Burton is a phenomenal
Vincent
director.
Malloy is 7 years old. He's always polite and does what he's told. For a boy his age, he's considerate and nice. But he wants to be just like Vincent Price. He doesn't mind living with his sister, dog, and cats, though he'd rather share a home with spiders and bats.
I'm loving this.
There he could reflect on the horrors he's invented. And wander dark hallways alone and tormented. Vincent is nice when his aunt comes to see him, but imagines dipping her in wax for his wax museum.
This is awesome. Oh, I've never seen this before.
He likes to experiment on his dog, Abercrombie, in the hopes of creating a horrible zombie. So he and his horrible zombie dog could go searching for victims in the London fog. His thoughts, though, aren't only of ghoulish crime. He likes to paint and read to pass some of the time. While other kids read books like Go, Jane, Go, Vincent's favorite author is Edgar Allan Poe.
Who doesn't
One
love
night,
Poe?
while reading a gruesome tale, he read a passage that made him turn pale. Such horrible news he could not survive, for his beautiful wife had been buried alive. He dug out her grave to make sure she was dead, unaware that her grave was his mother's flower bed. His mother sent Vincent off to his room. He knew he'd been banished to the Tower of Doom, where he was sentenced to spend the rest of his life alone with the portrait of his beautiful wife. While alone and insane, encased in his tomb, Vincent's mother burst suddenly into the room. She said, "If you want to, you can go out and play. It's sunny outside and a beautiful day." Vincent tried to talk, but he just couldn't speak. The years of isolation had made him quite weak. So he took out some paper and scrawled with a pen, "I am possessed by this house and can never leave it again."
Oh, wow.
His mother said, "You're not possessed and you're not almost dead. These games that you play are all in your head. You're not Vincent Price, you're Vincent Malloy. You're not tormented or insane, you're just a young boy. You're 7 years old and you are my son. I want you to get outside and have some real fun." Her anger now spent, she walked out through the hall. And while Vincent backed slowly against the wall, the room started to sway, to shiver and creak. His horrid insanity had reached its peak. He saw Abercrombie, his zombie slave, and heard his wife call from beyond the grave. She spoke from her coffin and made ghoulish demands, while through cracking walls reached skeleton hands. Every horror in his life that had crept through his dreams swept his mad laughter to terrified screams. To escape the madness, he reached for the door, but fell limp and lifeless down on the floor. His voice was soft and very slow as he quoted The Raven from Edgar Allan Poe. and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore.
Man.
Yeah.
I don't know how I can top that. That is.
But you see what I'm saying? How that that's something Tim Burton did like way at the beginning, and like how that eventually led to what became his later stuff and The Nightmare Before Christmas and all that.
Yeah.
And working with Vincent Price, on Edward Scissorhands, and then obviously this before that, or is somewhere in between there. Obviously, he knew Vincent from working with him.
I mean, that's the thing. Vincent Price was one of the pioneers of true horror acting. I mean,
yep. Who am I thinking of that was before Vincent Price, but he started in the silent era. He was in M. He was the star of M. German guy, little kind of a pipsqueak, but very creepy. Oh yes, man! Like he had that kind of voice.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, what was his name? Oh, I love him. He was in so many movies back then. Let's see. Okay, he was in Peter Lorre. Peter Lorre. He was the guy who was like the original. Like he was in silent films, and when they first invented sound, he comes out and he's like, "Oh yes, man," like that classic voice. That oh yeah. Peter Lorre like talked like that. That was just his voice, and that's what everyone else is doing. Kind of like the whole Bella thing. Like everyone's like, "Oh, it's blah, 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 blah." It's almost like a bad Bella Lugosi impersonation.
Count Dracula.
Right.
And everyone does that. It's like that whole, not the quote from South Park, but it's like why everybody wants to dress up as the Crow for Halloween because y'all want to look hot and look as many girls as possible. It's like, I like. I like horror movies that are like I love a good horror movie. But I love a good actor in a horror
Let
movie.
me
too.
throw you at you.
Oh wait, there she
Season of
is.
The Witch, Halloween 3.
Season of the Witch. That's not a bad movie at all. I think it got extremely underrated because since Michael Myers is not in it, people never gave it a chance to tell its own story.
That movie was amazing, but if there's a video out there on YouTube that describes about why it didn't do so well because it wasn't Michael Myers.
Right.
I've got to say this, and I love Season of the Witch because the casting in there.
Oh, the casting was fantastic.
Tom Atkins as the lead. I loved it. He, and then
I have showed all of my children Season of the Witch because I can't not have Happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween.
Yes.
That's not right there. That's not right there.
I love that.
I don't have the rights to that music yet. But I loved, that speech from O'Connor, and he's just giving that menacing, like, oh, you think it's all about putting costumes on your kids and sending them out for tricks and treats. It's like, dog, man, you need to calm down.
Yeah,
I'll buy the
John
mask.
Carpenter's Vampires was amazing.
Yes.
John Carpenter is just a phenomenal director. He's one of my favorites. And I will say this. I love his movies just for
Yes.
the feel you get from the music alone.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I just recently learned this. I didn't realize the only reason why we don't see anything from him anymore is because he made so much money off of his movies that now it doesn't matter if his music doesn't sell because he's already rich. So he's dedicated himself to touring with his band. That's just all he does now.
I did like the fact that him, his son, and his godson did the music for the new Halloween movies. The last three we got.
Yeah, that's great stuff. He's always been a great composer, And that score for the original Halloween is still one of the best horror movie scores of all time, period. In my opinion.
Oh yeah. It's just so iconic. You hear it. It's like that scene in Psycho. You can put it soundless of
the shower?
No, not the shower. Janet Leigh driving.
Ah, yes.
And you can just hear the music when you just see her driving. You hear that score. So when you watch Halloween, you can mute it.
And you hear it. Yep.
You just see Laurie walking across the street. And you see Michael coming up behind her. You can just you can hear that music in your head.
Yes. One thing I want to say something about what Krim Crawford said. Abbott Meet Frankenstein. You know what? As far as I'm concerned, if you really break it down, that movie is the end of the original Universal Monsters run, and it doesn't break the canon established in the earlier films. You can count that as a legitimate sequel, and it works.
I would too. I mean, my main issue I have with the end of the Universal horror line is we lost so many good films and actors because of just bad timing and bad economics.
Right.
Like Bela Lugosi, he was going to be in Frankenstein originally.
Yeah, but that was his own fault.
Yeah. But then we get, Boris Karloff and
dispute it.
Yes.
Boris Karloff. I did.
Yeah.
Ed Wood was one of those movies. It's like, wow, you can actually see somebody who has a passion for their movies. And when you see Johnny Depp in that role as Ed Wood, him going,
right?
Just him switching from, that scene of him dressed up from Glenn and Glenda.
Yes.
And he's like directing the guys, and the guys are looking at him. He's just like, what? Dude, you're dressed like a chick.
What do you mean? I was a paratrooper in World War II in women's underwear. What's the big deal? Yep.
I mean, I love that scene where you got Martin Landau as Bela Lugosi.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, all right, let's shoot this effer.
Yeah, when he's doing the octopus bit.
Yeah.
Do you have a machine to move its arms? No, you just grab them and wave them around. Oh, give me something to drink. Oh, Lord.
Oh, and who can forget, that great line from Bill Murray. Do you reject Satan and all of his temptations? Sure, why not?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, why not? Yeah. Oh, man, that movie's great.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever actually watch Glenn or Glenda, like the actual movie?
I haven't. It's on
Tubi.
Tubi.
Not working anymore.
Your TV
The
isn't
mute
working?
is not working. No.
Okay,
I'm
you're on.
not
We can hear you
unmuted
right
at
now.
all.
Oh, now we can't.
Okay. It's on Tubi for free, and I just haven't had a chance to watch it because
No, don't. I was on it like around when that Ed Wood movie came out. Around that time, I was on an Ed Wood kick. That's why it was amazing that movie came out when it did, because I was like, "Oh, cool," you know. But I watched the big three, which are Glenn Glenda, Night of the Atom, Bride of the Atom, Bride of the Monster, depending on what version you watch. Same movie, and Plan 9. And of the three, Plan 9's the best. Glenn Glenda is the worst. Glenn Glenda is so bad. It is the only 80-minute movie I've ever seen that was 75 hours long. Because it was that boring. 80 minutes, I felt like I was sitting there for days. Like, there's Ed Wood standing in front of a building. And then, like, it feels like I'm sitting there for a week and he's still standing there. And I'm like, what the hell? Something happened. Like, that movie is just so boring. Go ahead.
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, and I found a colorized version of it on Tubi.
Oh crap!
And it's always like, should I, shouldn't I, should I, or shouldn't I?
Well, you're not missing anything if you do. I mean, I guess just for the pure because if you're trying to just get the Ed Wood trilogy done, then yes. But I could think of no other reason why you would want to watch it.
I would say this. I think a necessary film that everybody needs to watch. And it's not a horror film.
You see the.
There you're talking.
I think everyone needs to watch the original Assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah. I agree.
Not for the shock value of it, but just for, the feel you get from that movie.
It's a good movie, man.
Well, we've been going for over 2 hours. I usually stream for just 2 hours, but we're gonna wrap it up soon. So, if you want to start plugging anything,
ladies and gentlemen, for anyone who doesn't know, I wrote a book about First Amendment auditors called The Frauditor's Handbook.
Yes,
it is available at Amazon right now.
I own it.
Oh no, we lost his.
No, his.
If you want to do your patriotic duty to this country, find a way to get that book into every public library.
I own that book. I have read that book. I own that book. It needs to go in every public library.
It needs to be read to children.
Yes, it does.
He's back. We got
Hez, come back.
Ding dong, dang, dang, nabbit. I muted myself. Did anyone hear anything I said? I wrote a book. It's called The Frauditor's Handbook. It's at Amazon.
Yes, we were talking about your book.
And as I said,
if anyone's interested in purchasing, you'd have to email me. I'll tell you the details. But look, I have I made Frauditor bingo cards.
Yes, I have 2 of them.
Yes. Look at that.
They're amazing. I can't wait to play with them.
That's awesome. When you're watching Frauditor videos at home, you could play along with your Frauditor bingo cards.
Yes, that's amazing.
And I also have these lenticular cards.
Yes,
I got the P Barnes shooting his taser. I got Casey Cameron getting punched in the head.
Got the dancing cop.
Oh,
right?
that's just a great.
The dancing cop is amazing. Cop.
And then, of course, I have my regular card game, which is Frauditors versus Anti-Frauditor cards. Series 2 is coming out soon. The Series 1 is pretty much done, but there are still Series 1 cards available, including I have one limited edition Schrodinger cat card left, and several others as well. So yeah. And of course my show Monday through Friday.
Raz!
Yes, Rise and Shine with Hezekiah.
Love some Raz.
Yes.
If you haven't watched it, it's one of the best shows to watch in the morning.
It is so wakes me up in the morning.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it.
With
And
some of
also,
the
I have to show this. I'm sorry, guys. I have to show this because this is every month on my channel. We do a giveaway, and the grand prize this month, I got this voodoo doll that was handmade by my producer, Salacious.
Salacious.
Yes.
phenomenal producer.
Love Salacious.
And then she made 8 of those, but those are done. I gave some away and I have 2 left of the actual voodoo dolls that I'm gonna give away as future prizes in giveaways. But until then, she printed, because she's never gonna make another one of those again, but she has 3D printed mini ones. This is a blank one, but she has 3 that she decorated.
I want the LIA.
We got this one. This is the silly, regular Frauditor. He's got Black's Law Dictionary there at his feet and his little tassel with his. And then we got Long Island Audit with his girdle.
Yes.
And then we have News Now Ninja with his dreadlocks,
News
and
Now
his vest,
Ninja.
his tattoos. He's got his little, look at his flip flops on. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. The grand prize for this month's giveaway is going to be all 3 of those. So yeah, definitely got a lot of stuff going on over on my channel. But ladies and gentlemen, while we're here, can I have a round of applause for NCR News Network?
Well, thank you guys. Thank you.
NCR is amazing.
I love doing this stuff for you guys. I love putting out content, and I love being able to interact with fellow content creators and the fans especially.
I have never come up on anybody's network except for yours, NCR.
Nice.
Well, I'm happy I got to be the first.
I don't have a headset to do it, so I had to get the husband to help.
That's all right.
It's fine.
You sound great now.
But I can't stress how much fun I had with you guys, and you're always welcome here on Movie Talk at any time.
All right.
Raven Wing, you're always welcome here as well. On that note,
Hezekiah is amazing. NCR is amazing.
oh, you're gonna make me blush.
You guys are the best. I love watching both of your content. I love Hezekiah at Rash. I love your channel when you post videos. NCR, it's amazing.
Well, Raven, I have some good ones in the works this week for you.
Yes, I'm excited.
I will give you a little heads up. We will be dealing with Tua Pri again.
No, Tua Pri. I was watching one of his videos.
I have one in the works that will be coming out tomorrow of his.
Hez is not happy.
But on that note, I want to thank Hezekiah and Raven Wing and everyone in the chat who's been lurking.
All right. Thank you for having me once again. Thank you guys. Thank you guys in the audience. Love you guys. If you haven't seen it yet and you like horror movies, watch Creep Show. All right. Thank you.
Be well. Be well. Be safe. And we'll see you guys next time.
All right.
Bye.